So building on Crosswork Workflow, we have Router Automation Kit. And I think this is the official hello world for Router Automation Kit. So let's welcome Jesse and Wei Tai up on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Jesse Wayne. This is Wei Tai. I am the product manager for the Router Automation Kit. Wei is the solution architect for both RAC and CWM, so he's a very good guy to know. And yeah, we actually had a sneak peek of this at the developer days in New York City, if you were there. But this is our first official presentation of RAC since we officially launched in April of this past year. So hooray, thank you all for being the first to officially experience this. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what RAC is and why we've built it. I know there have been several references to it so far, so now you get to learn all the secrets. And Wei is going to do a couple demos for us as well, so you'll actually be able to see it in action. So let's jump in. So what is the problem that we're actually trying to solve here? You know, why are we building RAC? From speaking with you all, from speaking with our users, we know that the automation solutions that exist out there typically have high learning curves. And they also tend to be learning specific. So there are a couple different consequences to this, or difficulties. One is that with these high learning curves, it takes a lot of time to get to a point of meaningful use, right? You buy a new product, maybe you can spend the time to become fluent with it, maybe you can't. So we see situations where people buy it and don't actually get to deploying it, or they buy it and don't renew it because they've never been able to get to the value piece of the product. Similarly, because each vendor has their own versions of these tools, you wind up needing to buy multiple versions of the same product, which just adds to the complexity of the whole situation. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to address specifically those problems by building a kit of 3 pre-built common use cases, right? So these are fleet upgrade, device onboarding, and golden configuration. These are the first 3 that we're focusing on. And what are they supposed to do, right? These are our key lifecycle use cases. So these are the use cases we know people are using every day. From speaking with you all, these are the ones that we heard over and over again. That doesn't mean that there aren't more. We're certainly looking at adding more. But for now, this is our introductory offer. It's multi-vendor, right? As many of the products up here are, it's one of our key selling points. And it's quick time to value. So our goal here is that you should be able to use it out of the box, right? It should be low complexity, low learning curve, set it up, start using it. And finally, we are coupled with CWM, right? We are essentially pre-built use cases on top of CWM. And what that means is you get the extensibility that comes with CWM. You just saw Lou and Jay present on what's possible. And you'll see in our further sessions how you can leverage CWM to build upon and customize to your specific needs. So a quick, very high-level visual. You as the user, you're interacting with RAC, those 3 use cases, device onboarding, fleet upgrade, golden configuration. The underlying engines here, you've heard us talk about CWM. That is certainly an essential piece of the pie. We also leverage NSO. So we have essentially function packs that you're going to use with NSO that also give you the power of NSO that I know many of you in the audience love, which is why you're here. You've already seen the slide. Lou spoke a little bit about it, but I wanted to flash it again just to contextualize where we are. So I'm not going to dig too deep into it, but we have there in the custom workflows section, or I should say there in the custom workflow section, Router Automation Kit is coupled right next to it. Let's see. Alrighty. So I'm going to jump a little bit into what each of the individual use cases are. And then right after this, we're going to launch into a demo of 2 of them. So golden configuration. What does it actually do? What are we trying to do here with it? The power of golden configuration is that it defines, you as the user are going to define a minimum set of parameters for what would otherwise be very complex configurations. Like all of the use cases, it's multi-vendor. And you're able to deploy device configurations and keep a track record of what it is that you have deployed to your field. So that's really the core functionality, but you can extend upon that by setting up device audits to make sure that what it is that you are expecting in the field is still there. And if we find a problem with that, there are remediation options as well. You also have scheduling abilities via CWM. So if you have a specific maintenance window that you want to run golden configuration in, go ahead and set it up. Finally, we're using a feature-rich template language called Ginger 2, and that's what enables us to have this very simple minimum set of parameters rather than something that would otherwise be quite complex. Fleet upgrade, this is one that people love. We get a lot of feedback on it. So this is a situation, or this is an example of where you can use CWM to customize what it is that you're doing, right? So you have, or we have these pre and post checks built on either side of the core fleet upgrade features, which are distribute, activate, and commit. But what we found with each of our users is that pre and post checks, the MOPs for each of those are very custom. Everybody has their own way of doing it. So with CWM, use CWM, build out whatever it is that you as a user need to do. We have pre-built versions of it, which you're certainly welcome to use, but the point that we want to emphasize here is that's available for you to do, right? You can use it as it is out of the box. You can change it however it is that you need to change it so that it works for you. Also multi-vendor. You're going to hear me say that a lot more. We have the capability to upgrade multiple devices at once, and similarly to upgrade them sequentially or in parallel. And finally, you can monitor, and Fleet Upgrade will report the upgrade status to you as it goes. Finally, device onboarding. Device onboarding leverages ZTP. And what are we trying to do with the device onboarding? Simplify the onboarding process, right? So again, multi-vendor, third time's the charm. It's going to provide the day zero image and configuration. And it's going to onboard the device into rack and NSO and CWM, and that gives you the day one configuration and onward support, right? Similarly, progress monitoring, and it's only going to work for expected devices. So unless you've set up a device profile for the device that you're trying to onboard, it's not going to work, right? And that prevents bad actors or unexpected devices from getting into your network. And finally, we offer role-based configuration catalog. So where can you learn more about Rack? Right after this, Wei's going to give us a demo, so you'll be able to see it live, and well, not live, pre-recorded. We're not as brave as Jay. So you'll see fleet upgrade and golden configuration specifically. And then later on today, from 4 to 4:30, we're going to be in the creative corner. Sandeep, one of our engineers, is going to be giving you an example of how you can customize these MOPs. So if you want to learn more, please go check that out. It'll be great. And getting Crosswork Router Automation Kit. So you saw Lou's slide up here just before. Rack is co-housed with CWM, both as a technology, but also in how you get it. So the way that we're sold is actually as an extension of CWM. So when you buy CWM, we have an option called CWM Advantage, which includes those SDKs that Lou mentioned, as well as the Router Automation Kit. And when you go to download CWM, that's where you'll find Rack as well. So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip over that and hand over to Wei.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Okay. So I'm going to start with an overview on the Rack demo UI. It is included as part of the 1.0 LA release on an experimental basis. So Rack workflows are built on CWM, and it can be operated via either the CWM's operations UI or the Rack demo UI. The CWM's UI is designed to work with generic workflows that are non-use case specific, whereas the Rack demo UI is designed to work with use cases specific to Rack. It enhances the user experience and provides ease of use. It minimizes the number of clicks that it takes you to get to the information that you need. It comes with a UI input wizard for gathering input data for launching the fleet upgrade workflow. Optionally, you can import JSON data into the UI input wizard that can be used as a starting point. You can also export the UI input data. You can also export the input data that you have created using the UI into an external JSON file that could be reused at a later time. The CWM jobs are represented in a tree view format, which eases navigation from the parent-level workflows down to each one of its child workflows. The device name and upgrade phase information for fleet upgrade that are buried inside of the workflows, now they bubble up and they are displayed right next to the upper layer workflows. That allows the OS upgrade progress information to be visible without having to drill down into the lower level child workflows. The CWM's workflow output can be viewed in either the tree view format or the JSON format if you prefer. There's also a diff viewer for showing the differences between the post and pre-upgrade checks. It is complementary to CWM's operations UI. It leverages its admin functions for doing things such as creating resources and secrets and the loading of adapters. Jobs that are executed through the rack demo UI can be viewed and monitored in CWM's operations UI, and vice versa. It is hosted on the Nginx web server, running inside of a Docker container, and it communicates with CWM via its REST API. The rack production UI, which will be better and even easier to use, will be available in a future release. So I'm going to dive into the demo. Let's see. So maybe I'll jump to the next slide. OK. So I'll play a recording of the Flip Upgrade demo. So this is the rack demo UI. We'll go to the Fleet Upgrade menu. So you see a list of completed jobs. Clicking on the New Job button takes you to the UI input visit. We're going to be importing from it.
It's not up on the thing just yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought it was already. Oops. Now, then should I? Oops. What happened? Now it's frozen. Let's see. I think my laptop just crashed.
Wish the DJ was still here.
Uh-oh.
There's music in our hearts. It's okay. You can sing, Frederick. Get up here.
No, that's not good. I cannot do my demo now then. OK. Oh, let's see. If I log back in, maybe it will work. OK. So now let's see if I plug it back in, it will still work. OK, let's maximize it. This is Fleet Upgrade. OK, let's start again. Oh, this is the golden config. Hold on. How come it's playing, but I am not seeing it? Hold on. When I tried it last night, everything was working fine. I should have reversed the order and then just let that demo play. Okay, let me jump through the slides first while we wait for. Oh, okay, this we said is pretty quick. So let's try it one more time. Hold on. Let's see. Let me make sure I get the right one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. How come it's showing? Oh, okay, because I got more stuff coming up. Okay. Okay, it's being played, right? Okay, let's start again. So let's jump to the fleet upgrade menu. So it shows you a list of completed jobs. Clicking on the new job button will take you to the UI input visit. We're going to be importing from a JSON file. So on the slide here, you'll see the workflow input data that will be required to launch the fleet upgrade workflow. So now we're loading it. We're going to be starting with the device type information. We're upgrading to 7.9.2 for 2 XR devices. This is the list of attributes for working with the selected mob. So before I launch into this, let me stop this. Oh, okay. Let me go through this. So we're going to give it a job name and one or more job tags to associate the job with, right? So you can later search for them easier. Then now, before I launch it, this is a diagram that shows the hierarchy of the workflows that are involved to support the fleet upgrade operation. At the top, there's the fleet upgrade parent level workflow, which will invoke one or more of the operations child workflows that are responsible for orchestrating the OS upgrade process on a per device basis. You can do the OS upgrades either on one device at a time, a few devices at a time, meaning in batches, or all at once. So as shown, you have 3 main OS upgrade phases. So you have the pre-upgrade, the upgrade, and the post-upgrade. And the workflows that are responsible for handling each one of those are shown here. And I have removed the lower layer workflows for simplicity's sake. And all device interactions will go through the NSO adapter. For the pre- and post-install workflows, the MOP workflows, they are optional. And there are 2 out-of-the-box MOP workflows that are shipped with rack. There's a MOP 1 that is more minimal in nature. It only does interface summary check. And then MOP 2 is more extensive. It does a few additional checks. And you can also customize these MOPs And there's a session, as Jesse mentioned, later on today in the Creative Corner that will cover how you can customize your own workflow, map workflow. So now let me continue. So now this is going to launch the workflow. So this is the input validation child workflow. It's going to validate the input against its schema and also against the device. Now that the workflow has been completed, we can scroll down and take a look at the workflow output for this. We can look at it through the tree view. This shows that validate has been succeeded. We can also look at it in JSON data format if that's something that you prefer to look at instead. Now we jump back into the job monitoring view. We expand on it. We see that there are 2 operations workflow that are running, and is currently in the pre-install map phase. We can drill down and take a look at one of the checks that are being done, the show interface summary. We first look at the CLI output. This is what is being gathered through NSO. And we look at the transformed data in structured format that's being stored in the stash area of the workflow that can be used to do comparison later on in the process. So the map is still running. So the next thing that is done now that the pre-install map is completed, then the next phase is the distribute, right? You see the distribute there. So now we can look at a summary of all of the pre-install checks that have been run. They have all succeeded. And distribute is running. This is transferring the image from the image repo down onto the device. It's going to take some time, so we fast forward 3 minutes. We do refresh one more time, then it should go into activate. So we are now in the activate phase for both of the operations. So in this case, they are both done in parallel. So now that we're in the activate phase, we can look at the workflow output for the distribute workflow. This shows that this distribution has been successful. Then now the image is being activated on the device. It's going to take some time, so we'll fast forward 10 minutes, do a refresh, and now we're in the post-install phase. So meaning the activate step has already been completed. The result is that it's successful. We see that the post-activate validation has been completed. 4 checks have been done. And we can scroll down and take a look at the post-install. This is the post-install checks for the map 2. We see that it's still in progress. So we do a refresh to get to completion. And we see that, that it's been completed. We can drill down and take a look at the route summary check. The route show route summary CLI output. And then the show route VRF or summary output. And then again, looking at the transformed part of it into structured data. So we look at the stash area where it's kept. You can see the route summary structured data. We can use the split screen feature and look at the VRF part of it. We're looking at the same workflow output, but a different part of this workflow output. You can see the VRF route summary on the right-hand side. So now that the post-install phase is done, so we show you the summary. We show that everything has been succeeded except for a warning in which there are some route differences between the pre and the post check that I will show you into a little bit more detail later on. So the image is being committed at this point. We do a refresh, and now the entire fleet upgrade workflow has been completed. So I can jump to the fleet upgrade workflow data, workflow output data. So let's bring up the workflow output data for this. we focus on the result part. We see that the OS upgrade has been succeeded with the warnings that I mentioned. So then the next thing we do is to bring up the diff viewer. This shows you the OS version that are being run before and after the upgrade from 7.8 to the 7.9.2. And if we scroll down, we will see the route differences that I mentioned earlier. That there were 2 routes before, and now there's 0 after the upgrade. It's mainly due to a timing issue. We didn't wait long enough for that, for the routes to come back. If we drill down onto one of the operations workflow, we get to the job details view. On the top, there's the timeline plot. It shows the various different OS upgrade phases that has been executed, along with the duration. So you can sort of see a timeline of how much time has been taken to run each one of those. So that concludes the fleet upgrade demo. So let's talk about golden config template. So the golden config template use case is implemented as an NSO service. It has the benefits of FastMap for transforming the service models into device models and calculating the minimal diffs to generate the device configuration. There's dry run for showing the resulting configuration before you do a commit. And there's checksync, deep checksync, and redeploy that can be used to implement the audit and remediation feature of golden config. The supported features include Ginger 2 and NSO's native device template formats. The device config can be used as the native format, so you don't have to convert them into a different format. And it also supports template tagging, which allows you to group your templates in a nice way, so you can search for makes it much easier to search for them later on. It also provides integration into CWM. There's workflows for creating the templates, as well as instantiating them onto the devices. There's workflows for performing audit and remediation. And there's also workflow for performing the dry run in order to get the operator approval before proceeding. Let's see. So now let's talk about golden config in action, right? So where do you start? How do you make use of it? You start with the device config on the very first step. And you start with, in this case, it is a BGP configuration. And it's a concrete run, right? All of the CLI parameters have actually values associated with them. And if you want to standardize it across your network devices, there are going to be some that you would need to parameterize, right? This is how you would go to step 2 in order to tokenize those CLI parameters that will vary from device to device. Then after that step, then you can use it in order to create a service instance data for the template container of the golden config service application. You will paste that underneath the config keyword there. This is the native format. And then you see that there's a variable name defined down below that blank space. This is where the default value would go. So in those cases, if you're happy with the default, when you instantiate it, you don't need to supply a value for that variable. Then once the template has been created, you will create an application in this golden config service in order to associate the template with the device, along with the list of variables that should be filled in during the instantiation. And in addition to the native format, there's other supported config formats that are listed in the bottom right corner. OK, so let's start the golden config demo. So let's go to the UI screen for golden config. I'm going to create an application along with the template on the same screen. So I'm going to be importing from a JSON file. This has all of the attributes that are required to create the template and the application, except for the device template itself. which I will show you how I would generate that and copy it into the UI. So it shows you the JSON contents that we're going to be importing. This is the list of variables that will be instantiated when the device template is applied. So I'll bring up VS Code and show you the tokenized version of the BGP config that I'm going to be copying into the UI screen. So this is very much like what you've seen in the slide over there. So I just copied it, and I pasted it exactly in the config block. And I'm ready to perform the dry run. So now this is the UI that shows that it's polling events from the CWM until it runs to completion. Then this is the dry run output. It shows you the device configuration as well as the service instance data if you commit this change into NSO. So everything looks good. We're going to scroll to the bottom and do a commit. So now it goes through the commit operation. Then after this, the device template would have been created or provisioned onto the device. So it has been succeeded. So now I want to create an out-of-sync situation, right? I'm going to bring up NSO CLI and create an out-of-band change. Out-of-band in this case meaning outside of the golden config service application. So I'm changing the router ID from .5 to .6. Committing it. Now going back to the UI, let's perform an audit operation. We're going to be selecting some parameters by dynamically retrieving them from CWM. We retrieve the list of applications that I would like to audit. I'll pick the one that I just created, right? XR BGP, that's the one just created. We do a dry run. This will then determine whether there are any deviations, right? Any out of sync type of situation. So it did detect the change that we made. Now I scroll down and I can do a redeploy. So that's the redeploy. So it's going to monitor or poll the events from CWM until it runs to completion. And show you the workflow output. The service has been redeployed, meaning it has been remediated. So let's talk about lifecycle management of golden config. So what I have shown you is to use the UI to perform the audit capability, right? Certainly for deployment purposes, you want to schedule the audit capability. And you can schedule that and run that in order to detect any sort of out of sync situation. And then you can use some of the capabilities that you saw in Lou and Jay's session earlier in order to ask the operator for approval, right, in order to remediate any sort of out of sync situation. So that concludes the golden config part of my demo. So thanks for your time, and we are ready for questions.
Yeah, I think we have a Slido too. If you all don't mind filling it out. Thank you, Wei.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't pray to the to the demo gods, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't mind filling out the Slido for us, it'd be immensely helpful.
We don't have any questions on Slido at the moment.
Okay, easy.
Let me just ask you a question. What has the initial feedback been from customers on Router Automation Kit in terms of us coming with something which is kind of prescriptively built for certain processes and use cases versus customer doing things their own way? Is it like, yeah, we'll change the way we do things, we're going to adopt to how it's done in rack, or is it going to be, yes, we can work with this, we're going to use part of it and we're going to modify some part, or has it been like, nah, we have other ways of doing it and we're not going to change? What has been the reaction?
Yeah, great question. So feedback in general, I think, has been extremely positive, particularly around fleet upgrade. And we're threading a nice needle here, and that what we've built, you can use out of the box, but then because we're using workflow, you can extend on it and customize it, right? And you can do that yourself. You can engage CX to do it. It's really up to you. So I would say that initial response, like, we definitely have customers, and the reason that we really started building out Rack was as a response to the express complexity, right, behind having to do it yourself. And there are certainly customers, there are plenty of NSO customers, who like to do it themselves. They want to take it, develop on it, and whatever it is that they want to build. But for each customer that wants to do it themselves, there's plenty of customers who say, or users who say, this is too much, this is too complex. I don't want to spend time on this. Give me something that just works. So yeah, like I said, the fact that we kind of have the ability to do both, but it's right there for you to use, I think is what's really compelling about Rack. That's what I like about it. That's what we've heard. Wei, is there anything you'd add?
No, I think that was a very good summary. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. We will, we're going to keep all of this and build off of it. That's why we're here too. So please find us. We'll be walking around. Thank you so much for your attention and continued attention as we had some whoopsies, but you know, that's how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.